So you've got some tokens on Fogo and you want to generate some yield via liquidity pools, but you're brand new to this. Let me give you the entire explainer, which goes over liquidity pools, what Valiant actually does, and also impermanent loss. Let's get amongst it. So here we are at Valiant.trade, and we can do all of our trading right here, as you already know. But in the pools section, we have different liquidity pools we can enter with, say, some fish and USDC, or Sol and USDC, or down here, Fogo and USDC. Now, in an hour or so, a lot of liquidity is going to come into Fogo, and there'll be a lot of trading on the blockchain, and you can generate fees from that. But let's go over the things that you need to know in the meantime. We won't go over every aspect of that because that's covered in a different tutorial. All I want to go over right now is in each pool, there's going to be two different assets. And if one asset goes up in value, then that will be sold for the other asset. So as an example, I went ahead and I put some Fogo and USDC into this liquidity pool. Now we have something called impermanent loss that can enter. If the price goes up, we will have a lot more USDC because we'll be selling them for Fogo. If the price goes down, we'll have more Fogo and less USDC. But if the price of Fogo goes up very, very quickly, then it would have been better that we actually just held the Fogo token as opposed to provide liquidity, because the actual yield that we generated wouldn't have been worth the risk. Let me give you a little bit more of a visual. This is our ecosystem map that we've created by the Fogees Hub. Remember, this is our validator. Stake with us via Ignition. But let's go and zoom in over here. Pretend that this is a liquidity pool, and in this pool is Bitcoin or Fogo and USDC. Sometimes you can put in an equal amount of those tokens. And if Bitcoin is sitting on $100,000, and if it just stays in that range between maybe 95,000 and 105,000 for quite some time, then you're going to do probably pretty well on generating fees if there is a lot of volume. But if all of a sudden tomorrow presidents start declaring that Bitcoin is the new gold and Bitcoin goes immediately to $200,000, then you may have only accumulated a small amount of fees in the USDC pair. And this means you are much better off actually just holding the two assets and not providing the liquidity. And so you have what's called impermanent loss or divergence loss. In other words, the price is diverging from where you think it would be. Even though it's called impermanent loss, it's actually pretty permanent. The moment you realize it by removing it from liquidity, it's actually permanent. And most of the time, it is permanent loss. So you need to work out the range where you think the price can go in between, and be aware that the primary goal, and of course this is not financial advice, nothing ever will be, it's educational nature, but the primary goal of somebody providing liquidity is to outperform impermanent loss by generating fees. If you cannot do that, then you're highly likely just taking your Fogo and staking it with the Fogees Hub validator, because otherwise, if Fogo goes up really, really high, and you're just left with USDC, you're going to be a little bit upset. Now, when you calculate your fees, you must be aware that they are completely dynamic. So this pool is brand new. It's generated $42 in fees in maybe 20 minutes or something like that. And the amount of volume is very, very minimal, but the amount of TVL is quite substantial, $1.4 million. So if you're going to work out how much this could generate in terms of fees, you do something along these lines. Let's just pretend, as an example, that we managed to do $42 worth of fees in 20 minutes. So there's 20 times 3 is 1 hour. So you times that by 3, and then you times that by 24. And that's what it's doing in terms of fees per day. Times that by 365. You can use your AI tools as well to help you. And that is generating $1.1 million in fees per year. That divided by TVL gives us a percentage. We times that by 100. And essentially, this is earning 80% right now per year. So if Fogo stays in a range and doesn't go crazy high or low, then we could end up printing some decent fees. We could potentially. But if you're new to LPing, so LP, liquidity providing, then you must realize that divergence loss, impermanent loss, it's a real threat. It is the single most threat when it comes to being a profitable LPer. So my suggestion is to just start with something small and get the hang of it. After a couple of small losses, you'll probably start to understand more and more. And by the way, I have a personal YouTube channel under my name, Seb Montgomery, and this is where I've covered a lot in terms of DeFi, farming, and whatnot. I'm not telling you to go watch it. I'm just saying when it comes to LPing, this is basically my skill set. This relates to Meteora, which is on Solana, but Valiant is what we've got on Fogo, and Valiant is fantastic. At the end of the day, one of the most profitable things you can do if you have the skill set is provide liquidity. So learn it well, and always remember your goal is to outperform impermanent loss.